Hello, people. This is Mac with Mac Commentary. Today I have with me my guest, Bob. Bob, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, Mac. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just wanted to go over a few things that's been happening here in our space in this world, especially here in these United States. Uh, One of the things is the what has happened today with our former president, Trump, and the indictment that he received last week and his arraignment today. But this is all leading up to something, you know, really bad for the country, I believe. It's all a part of, I think, what with other things that's coming to fruition in this country, it's making us look real bad in the eyes of the world. Our values and morals in this country are being debased by people in power. And why they are doing it, I cannot say except for to make more money. Yes, and it goes back to like it's causing a lot of people to want to jump up and fight, maybe cause a civil war or something. And that's some little indications of things like that going on, Bob. We had the Civil War of 1860, which was well, before that we had, of course, the Revolution of 1760 to 1783, which created the United States, and the Civil War of 1861 to 1865 determined what kind of nation it would be. Two questions was left unresolved by the revolution: whether the United States was to be a dissolvable confederation of sovereign states, or an indivisible nation with a sovereign national government, and whether this nation, born of a declaration that all men were created with an equal right to liberty, would continue to exist as the largest slave-holding country in the world. Now, initially, Bob, as our history books tell us, the Civil War started because of uncompromising differences between the free and slave states over the power of the national government to prohibit slavery in the territories that had not yet become states. Now, when Abraham Lincoln won an election in 1860 as the first Republican president on a platform pledging to keep slavery out of the territories, the 7 slave states in the deep South seceded and formed a new nation, the Confederate States of America. Now, the incoming Lincoln administration and most of the Northern people refused to recognize the legitimacy of secession. They feared that it would discredit democracy and create a fatal precedent that would eventually fragment the no longer United States into several small, squabbling countries. Now, Bob, I don't think that we're going to separate or secede, but there's been some talks about California and Texas, but I don't think it's going to happen. But there are some things very similar going on in this country, the squabbling between we had the back in those days, the Civil War, we had the Dixiecrats, which were the Democrats, right? And the Republicans squabbling. Now today we got the the Democrats and the Republican squabbling, but they seem to be on the sides of their counterparts back in during the Civil War era. Whereas today the Republicans back then was for was for the free, not freeing the slaves, but against it, moving it out west into the territories, whereas the southern states wanted to keep slavery indefinitely. And if they couldn't have it, they would rather secede than have their own country. But that wasn't to be had. But today we are having things like that going on in this country, Bob. And I see some very similarity. Do you see these same type of squabbling that's going on between the Democrats and the Republicans? And you see the values that's going down in our country because of these squabblings? We got the pro rights group, we got the pro LGBT groups, we got the pro documented aliens group, which is all on one side there, which is mainly with the Democrats, and we got the Republicans over there. And there's no more compromising, Bob. There was times that this country would compromise. We got our Democrats in the Congress and the Republicans, and they can't seem to govern this country as the country used to be governed. And now we are going after former presidents and prosecuting them. And it seems like it's one party against the other. And I see as we are going towards, as the Democrats are prosecuting, going after our former Republican president, I can see now with a Congress that's headed by the Republicans, they're going to go after the Democratic president that we have now, Joe Biden, and his son for things that they have done. How do you see what is happening, Bob, as it relates to maybe some pending war type of situation where we have a great divide in this country, so to speak?
Well, thank you again, Mac, for inviting me on your show. I would simply say this. I don't think that, first of all, I agree that there is much anger and divisiveness and division among the people in America. We are not a United States of America anymore. We are, and I think it hinges upon the fact that we have a constitution, which, as you pointed out at the outset, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they were endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, at the time that those words were written, that was very true, because the majority of the people that it was talking about were all Caucasoid men, for the most part. And it was just, I think, anticipated that the rest of the population would flow in line with that. Well, fast forward the tape to today, 2023, and as you were pointing out, you've got a very diverse culture. You got not only Christians, on which this nation was allegedly founded, but you got Muslims, you got Jews, you got Hindus, you got Buddhists, you got Sikhs, you got atheists, you got agnostics, you got a plethora of people who all fall back on that statement that we are all created equal, and we are as human beings, as God created creatures. We are all equal in that sense, but we're not equal in our politics. We're not equal in our thinking. We're not equal in our judgment. All of those things are different. And what we have going on here today, I think, with Trump's indictment on 34 counts, is a circumstance wherein the people that support Trump feel like they, because of their equal status, they're getting screwed, and because Trump's getting screwed. And he tells us that. He says, look, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. But the reason I don't think that there'll be a civil war because of that is because of the people that are being come after. They're not going to pick up arms. That little Donnybrook that you had on January 6th on the Capitol, that was nothing like what went on in the Civil War. There were over 500,000, I think upwards of 700,000 people killed in that war. There was only one person that was actually killed as a consequence of the fracas in Washington, D.C. on January the 6th, because most of those people were there, even though they were breaking out windows and things like that. They were there peacefully. I saw more destruction during the riot or the so-called rebellion in Detroit in 1967 than occurred in Washington on January the 6th. So I don't think we're going to have a civil war, but I think you will have a continued disgruntled population that'll be at each other's throats, and President Donald Trump is the head of that symbolism, and the people on the other side, the Democrats, are going to try as best they can to make a prime example of him, so that anybody who talks about draining the swamp, which is a threat to their power, because they are the swamp, is going to have a good example of how he got hung from the cross just as Jesus did.
Well, you know, Bob, it's true enough that there were somewhere over 625,000 lives lost in the Civil War. Now, today, there's 10 times the population as back then. So you're talking about maybe if we had a civil war today, there would be over 6 million people perhaps killed. And if we had a blown out civil war like that, and an untold and millions that would be afflicted uh, uh, physically and emotionally if we had a civil war today. But you got to realize too is that this is over that it was over the fact that it was all about the slave-holding states wanted to continue to be free thinkers, and do what they wanted to do. Now, going back to the spirituality of this country and the religion of this country was created because of the freedom to worship as they wish. And that's one of the reasons why they were created. So that's why there's no ban or anything against anybody practicing the religion and worshiping the God as they see fit in this country. But it was this country was based primarily on Christianity and the denominations that's associated with that. But now today we don't we don't value what's in the Bible because all these things that's going on in this country, we have no preachers or no ministers or clergymen or rabbis or anybody speaking out about what is happening in this country with the morals of this country. We let a lot of things take place in this country with the rap music, which has denigrated not only black people, but the black women to a certain degree that there's really, people don't show them the respect that they should have, you know? I've seen police officers take 65-year-old black women and drag them out of their car, you know, grandmothers, and throw them on the ground, you know. And they did absolutely nothing to provoke that officer. And these type of things is how they have made, this rap music has made black people in this country seem like we are a bunch of thugs or something. You, you, like for instance, what happened down there in Miami last week, a week before. I mean, how the blacks acted. It was it was just it was just crazy. And people looked at that. I looked at it and I said, what is going on here? But this is how that rap music has created a different type of person in the youth. And then we have people that grew up in the rap generation back in the late 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s. They're now having children, you know. So they are still into that rap culture, and so are their kids. And they continue to, it's just like it's just like a cycle they're going through. And until we stop that cycle, if somebody come out and say, hey, we've got to teach morality back, put it back in the churches, and these preachers, if you're going to be a preacher, get up there, and we have to hold those ministers to it, just like we have to hold the Congress people to it. You know, I mean, the thing it is, it's just like how they wanted to go and spread, and I don't have anything against the LGBTQ, but they want to spread that all across the world. I mean, let those people have what they want. You've made it here. You've destroyed a lot of people here and youth here. So that's that divide you have going to here, Bob. You got one side here, the Republicans, they are looking at it as, hey, this is just not right for our society. But yet they pushed it, and they got, we don't care what people do. They want to try, they make a choice. People make a choice what they want to do. But you want to get back down to it and say, well, what about the morality of it? Well, let's go look at it from the Christian standpoint of view. In the Bible, it says Sodom and Gomorrah, he was going to destroy it. And that's what he did. He destroyed those two cities because of what was happening there. Only thing you have to do is pick up Genesis, I believe it's chapter 9, 1 through 28. I may be wrong on that chapter, but read those verses right there and you will see what was happening there at that time. And you know, I tell people out there, and I find that so many people don't even know anything about Sodom and Gomorrah as to what actually happened when the angels went there. So I mean, and yet they, you know, I'm just putting it out there, Bob. Not, I'm just saying that's what we have, not what I believe in or anything like that. But I'm just saying that if this is a Christian nation, where are all the Christians at? What are they fighting for? And I think that with what's going on with President Trump is just another part of the whole narrative of the divide that's happening in this country. And it's going to continue to get worse if it doesn't. This country will implode rather than explode. Because I've always been taught that divided uh, uh, what's that thing as you divide it, you fall?
All right. Yeah. United we stand, divided you fall.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. But
but I,
a house divided unto itself cannot stand.
exactly, yeah, and so if that happens, I mean, we continue along this road right here. What's going to happen with this country, Bob? I mean,
Well,
like right now, some people say, well, we're not going to go into a war because I know civil war because hey, people don't want to lose their fine cars out there and their big homes and everything. They don't want to get all that. They don't want to get off track with that. Well, something's gonna happen if you can't stay together. Together we stand, divided we fall. Isn't that how it goes?
yeah, yeah, that's true. That is how it goes. Uh, but I think that most people value their lives, number one. So as a result, I think that's the reason that you won't have a civil war. Uh, you won't see people picking up guns against each other because if you did, blacks in this country years ago would have picked. They would have organized themselves to defend their rights. I think that we concluded that, and probably rightfully so, because we were outnumbered. We probably didn't have a chance. But the point is, if I think when you get ready to go to war, you put all that stuff aside and you say, give me liberty or give me death, and you're prepared to die, whether you're outnumbered or not. If it's 10 enemies against you and you only got one gun with 6 bullets in it, you're going to try to take out 6 of them, realizing that the other 4 are going to get you. But I don't think that most people look at it like that. And that's why I don't think that you'll see a civil war because most people value their lives more. And then they value their, like you were saying, their material goods, their fine homes, their fine cars, and their cruises on, big cruise ships and vacations and things like that.
Well,
Uh,
well, one of the reasons back in the day, though, they the United States of the population that was free at that time, they feared slave rebellion, and and plus there was the establishment of a black republic in Haiti, and the insurrections threatened and real of Gabriel Prosser, Denmark Vesey, and Nat Turner. That stoked the fires too, And that John Brown's raid at Harper's Ferry, now that sent shockwaves through the South. Now, these people, and that's when you kind of had all of the Southern whites who didn't own any slaves. That's why they were forced seceding, from the North and wanted was proud of the Confederate state. And you see here today, Bob, you ride out into the rural areas of this country now, you're going to see a whole lot of Confederate flags out there. And don't think that a lot of these people have not forgotten. And you've got all of your militias up there in Michigan and other northern states. And the militia was created, when this country was created. The militia was to if the government didn't fend for them, then they would fight, go against the government. Isn't that what they were created for?
well, they were pretty much your last line of defense, Uh, and if the like you say, if the police won't protect my house, I'll protect my own house. And that was the same thing with the militia. If you can't protect my state, if the national government's not strong enough to do it, we'll protect our own state. But as you were speaking, I was thinking about the fact that they made a big brouhaha about that January 6th circumstance, and there was only one person killed. That protester, that lady veteran who was shot by one of the Capitol Police. The others were suicides and other circumstances. But my point is this: that that these people that are being arrested, being given long prison terms, they were some of your more active protesters on January 6th, and they're getting long prison sentences, 10, 20 years. And I think they were a part of militia groups. Like, for example, the ones that they said they were going to kidnap the governor here, Governor, I forget her name now, but anyway, the governor of Michigan, and they're getting big time for the conspiracy to kidnap the governor. Well, see, when other people see that, and you talk about a civil war, and people being disgruntled because they dissatisfied with the way they're being kicked around, being taxed, and being abused financially through taxation without representation. But they see somebody goes to jail for 20 years for just petitioning their government. They'll say, "Well, I'll just take it. I'll symbolically, I'll fly a flag in my yard, but I don't. That's freedom of speech. But I'm not gonna pick up no weapon and go and get into no war, shooting war with those that are abusing me."
Well, that's something to really think about there, Bob. But I think also that if push come to shove, and I think that's one of the things that we have wrong with today, especially in some communities, where people don't get out there and protect their people, protect their
Yeah,
families. They don't do that, and I don't understand the logic in that. If somebody abuse your family, aren't you supposed to protect them?
I think so.
Well, I'd like to know with all this is happening in these United States, and I think people are pushing these issues out there as to if these things are really happening, like they claim these things are happening, then there should be a war right there. What you said that people value their lives, but what use to living if you got to live with somebody's foot on your neck? And
Right.
I think, and I don't know this for a fact, but I think that what I've been told is that there seems to be a police patrol going in all the black communities where they just have these checkpoints, so to speak. Well, if you drive through there, they're gonna stop you, and then they're gonna look for an excuse to search your car. And that's why you have so many blacks that's arrested in prison, because you have these militias out there, or these what you call patrols, which are no different than the patrols they had during the slavery days, if this is happening.
Yes.
Because I'm just wondering, Bob, why are so many people that they say these things are happening to? Because I look for it every day to happen to me. They don't stop me, because I don't be doing anything wrong, I don't think. And and if I'm speeding, they stop me. I give them my license, my insurance, and I'm on my way. They give me a ticket if I got one coming. But if they was doing anything more than that, I'm gonna just obey what they say, do what they like they said, take an order, and if it's wrong with the order they're giving me, then I'm gonna file a lawsuit, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the best way to stay safe. But I don't think, but I think that if these things are going on in the communities, and I was in Cleveland a few weeks ago, and I rode around through that area like I always do when I'm there. I didn't have a problem there. But I'm not saying that they are not happening, Bob. But if they are happening as frequently as people that they put out here, and these things are happening, and like I saw some things that happened. I mean, only thing I can say, Bob, I'm 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 an old man now, But I tell you, if it happened to one of mine like that, I think I would just have to take some type of action. I'm not saying that anybody else got to do anything, but you got to protect your family and you got to protect your communities. I think that's what the Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers was trying to do, right?
And you
Protect.
see what happened to them.
That's right. But they had, but that's what. But they didn't. They weren't out there. They weren't out there to fight the police, Bob. They what they did. The police did. They went and the FBI or whoever it was. They went and attacked them in the middle of the night. See, because they were not at war. But when you see, like today, when you see if you at war, then you got to put on your military garb and do what's necessary. I seen a bunch of them marching around here with their all the ARs, 15s, and whatever. But are they taking any action to stop this? I mean, if John over there, this is like the McCoy and whoever else, the families there that used to fight up in the hills there. If McCoy shoots the Smith clan, one of the Smith clan over here, then the Smith clan gonna go and shoot one of McCoy's clan. I'm just saying, Bob. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's what you see going on with President Trump. Uh, and that's why I think he may be a little bit miffed the fact that his people are so passive. But that's been a characteristic of the Republicans, ever since the beginning. What Lincoln said, if he could stop the war between the states and say to hell with the slaves, he would stop the war. If they would stop their nonsense killing each other, he wouldn't be so concerned about the states. Well, I think President Trump, is confused by the fact that his people are so passive. I mean, uh, you know, because they went right down there, broke into uh, into Mar-a-Lago, his home, and the Secret Service, who was there to protect him and his property, they just let the FBI come right in, break the locks off doors, go into Mrs. Trump's bedroom and pull out her panties and stuff like that. I mean, that was uncalled for, man. That was disrespectful of an ex-president, and they're still doing it.
Well, that Secret Service, they had to do what they were. They had a search warrant, so so they still work for the government, even though they protect Trump. I mean, but they had to coordinate that with them. They couldn't stop them from coming in there. Only thing they did to protect the president. But
Well, and that's exactly my point. When you get into a pissing contest, and you say, "Wait a minute, man, you can't go in that woman's bedroom, motherfucker." Pardon me, man. I didn't mean to say that. Let me believe that. Uh, you can't be going in that lady's bedroom doing that kind of nonsense, and you guys get into a fight, and one of you might get killed. That's what happens in a civil war.
right.
You
Well,
know.
let's maybe there won't be a civil war here, Bob, but I think there's going to be definitely a continual demoralizing and of the people in this country that see things not being taken care of in the right fashion. And one of the things is that nobody's out there trying to do anything to change the what is happening here with our youth, whether they are black or white, because they all have been inundated with this negative rap lyrics out there. And some of them take it as something as, oh, I just listen to it for the beat. And they probably do. But some of them take all this stuff so serious because many of them, especially the ones that come from the affluent homes and everything, they don't take that stuff serious. It's just something that they're out there to do. Just like when you were growing up, you used to listen to Clyde McFadder or Little Richard, and
Right.
and that was just something to dance off of, to enjoy, have fun with, and that's the way some of these people look at that rap. But when you're in there, you're in a down and out situation, and you see what is happening in your neighborhood, and you see the stuff that they are saying in those rap, you're living the reality of that. So you go out there and you emulate what they are saying, and in those songs, and whatever they
Yes.
call them songs in that rap. So we have to. I'm telling you, if people, there's not no rocket scientist as to what is going wrong here, and then we let our Congress people let the government deregulate the radio and the music industry and the television industry and the movies industry. I remember being over in Europe back in the 70s, and that was nothing like over there. I mean, over in this country at that time, like what was over there, Bob. But then they started deregulating everything over in this country in the 80s when President Reagan came in office. And that's when things started becoming helter skelter, so to speak, as far as the morality and everything else in this country. And people just don't know how to have clean fun anymore because of
Yeah.
what has happened. I mean, I can remember times, man, we could go to a creek and have a good time, man. And nobody was there with their knives or guns trying to. Nobody got in fights either,
Right.
But it's not like that today, Bob. Everything now is, and you can see it, and you see it in the homes, you see it in the communities, you see it in our government. Look at what is happening at the top level of our government. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? And all that stuff. They say if and what do they say? It trickles right on down, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Because they don't care up there, so then they don't. So how can they rule anything below them if they letting everything go to hell up there, right?
Right.
So it's going to come right on down. So they let the police go wild. Let you police do that. Let's give them more money. Let's hire another 100,000 policemen to go out there and beat them up. Keep them in line.
Right.
They don't try to figure out the cause and effect of anything anymore.
Right. Sure.
So I mean, if you can figure out the cause of it, then you can fix it, and not just throwing money at the police or throwing money in the community, but find out why. None of them are trying to look at that, Bob.
Right.
I'm
Yeah, you're
telling you.
right. No,
I
you're
want to
right.
take,
I mean, it is a degradation and a demoralization of our society, and it's pervasive. I mean, it's on your television, it's in your schools, it's in your politics. It's like a big it's like a big bubble that we're all in.
yeah, they just totally debase the morals in this country.
That's right.
I mean, just completely say, hey, I mean, it is a debasement of the 100th degree, Bob. I mean, really, I mean, I never seen anything what I say. I can't even. I mean, I see you used the word just now, the MF word, and Bob, I said, oh, Bob, because we practice not to do that on our show.
Right.
And but uh,
Right.
but but sometimes it can slip because society is so inundated with these words now. I mean, you turn on your regular TV, you hear these words.
That's right.
You hear
That's
little
right.
kids on there, man, 10 years old and stuff like that. I don't care what race they are. All different
That's
races.
right.
You hear them talk like that.
Yes.
And nobody, I don't hear any politician. We don't have any politicians with morals. They don't care. They just got a job, man. They want to go in there and filibuster this bill and that bill. Not try to get down to the root of what is happening and trying to learn what is happening in their districts. And try
Well, their purpose, I mean, you got to look at what their purpose for going into that business was. I mean, they went in there if you look at most politicians, most of them went into politics. They were not rich when they went in, but when they came out, they were rich.
That's amazing, isn't it? And man, people, we talk about corruption over in these, as they put it, the third world countries. I mean,
Right.
what what is what are we right here if that's not correct? How can you be a poor uh, uh, proletariat uh, whatever so dirt poor, or if you got a few $100,000 or a few thousand, and then you go in into an office like Congress or senator, or mostly Congress, and then they work their way up into the Senate, and they poor. But then all of a sudden, now they worth millions.
Well, and a prime example of that was our president Lyndon Baines Johnson. He was a poor Texas uh, boy that got elected, got into politics, and then you know just became inordinately wealthy. And I don't begrudge them that. I mean, if that's what they do, that's okay. The thing that gets me back is the point that you continually make. I would like to see us at least have some moral substance to our behavior. Because if you look at the Bible, I don't care what religion base you come from. I think most of the leaders of all the various religions at that time, uh, and, and even if if, like you say, the leadership, the religious leadership, which began a campaign of, like Jesus said, just love one another. that simple phrase, if you love one another, if I love, and I don't mean I'm not talking about sexual love, I'm talking about spiritual love of
Well,
another human being.
yeah, we know what
You're
you're
not
talking
going to
about.
go, huh?
We know what you're talking about.
Right. If you love one another, uh, you're not going to be wanting to go out and go into a school and kill kids because you weren't taught that. And unless you're mentally deficient or deranged, then there needs to be a place for you for that. But because we're so distracted for the quest for the almighty dollar, uh, we put all that on the back burner, and that's the responsibility of the politician,
Yeah.
to to get that thing set up correctly.
Well, well, apparently, Bob. I mean, until we some the people get out there and start to trying to select a politician that's going to do right. Like, for instance, I can not like everything about a person, but if he shows me that he has integrity and he has morals,
Yes,
these other things about him, I can deal with that, because
sure,
his integrity and his morals is gonna keep him on the straight and narrow to a certain point. I might
right,
not like the way he go out here and he wears hat or wears clothes or whatever. I might not like the way he goes into and select his people that's going to work with him. But he's going to do everything within his own character of morality and his character of integrity to do the right thing. And so we have to put
y-
trust in that. And
yes,
so that's the type of people that we have to look for now and that we have to vote for. Those people who you see yourself in as a person of morals. If you're not moral, then you're going to probably go out there and vote for somebody like you.
right,
But the whole key to it is to try to get back to the moral things. And that's why I say if we can get the people in there that have they have morals, then those morals will flow up to the top. And once we get them up to the top there, then they'll trickle down to the bottom. Instead of the way it's going right now, all this negative immorality and all this other stuff is being trickled down because there's certain people that wants this. They want a demonic society. You know what I mean? They want
yes,
a
sure,
satanic society. I believe that, Bob. If you believe in God, then you also must believe in the devil, right?
yeah. There's good and there's evil. You're right.
And so, and there are those people out there who are so evil that they are creating this type of environment, an ecosystem in our society right now. And until we can sit down and figure that out and say, hey, we got to get the right people in here. And if you look here in Florida at DeSantis, I don't say everything about him is perfect, but that guy has some morals about himself.
Yes, sure.
And so so people have to look at him seriously because we got to put somebody in there, Bob, that can turn this country, they may not do it all the way, but they got to start the thoughts in this country, and the morals in this country, and the integrity of this country, and the togetherness of this country. They got to start turning it around and make it go in the right direction instead of the wrong direction it's going now. And we got to
Yeah,
do that as a people, not one person, and not one person going to do it. We got to get We got to start from the grassroots and get these like you call them, tricksters. We got to get them out of there and put some real politicians in there. Somebody that's going to do the right thing, Bob.
Yes.
And that's what we've got to do. It's got to be from a ground root level. That's why we got to join organizations in our community. We got to get with guys like VAShiva.com. Get with his organization and join with them and learn what systems analysis and learn things. And not just him, but there's other groups out here that's on a course of trying to do the right thing in this country. Because if we don't, Bob, as we said when we started this program, together we stand, divided we fall. So I want to end that and thank people for coming in. I want to especially thank you, Bob, for taking time out of your busy day here to come with us and to talk about what's happening in this country today and what has happened today with former President Donald Trump, him being indicted on 34 counts of miss or mess. And I think all of that, Bob's going to come back to hunt this country, like I said at the beginning. But the only thing
I agree with you.
But the only thing that we can do is continue to pray to our God Almighty and ask Him to bless and help this country and help those politicians and help those people who have done what they have done towards the former president and help the former president. Because it's not anything whether he was right or wrong in all of the things that has occurred. I can't say that he did those things. I don't know whether he lied or anything, but it seemed like to me it's all about nothing.
Yes, I agree with you.
Especially when the last time we showed a letter that was from Cohen's attorney stating that the funds came from Cohen had nothing to do with the president.
Yes.
And yet they had that letter. The DA had that letter, and they did not take that in consideration, Bob. But
all right.
So, and we've seen them lie enough in this country in all situations and all things. So we know how it's easy for them to tell a lie.
That's right.
But again, people, I want to thank you all for coming in and listening to Bob and I today. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. And we'll continue. Give us some comments on what we discussed today. Let us know what you think, because we are here for you, not just for us. And have a great day, and we'll be back with you in a few days. Thank you.